everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Alexa. Today we're making cookie butter brownies. I measured out all my ingredients and I recommend that you do so too. You can find a full list of ingredients and measurements in the link in the description. Remember to watch the video first so you can be prepared. First, I'm going to sift my cocoa powder and flour. This is to make sure there are no clumps. If you don't have a sifter, you can use a wire whisk or a fork. When you're sifting, you can push the ingredients through using a rubber spatula or spoon, or you can tap the sides of it with your hands. Now that my ingredients have all fallen through, I'm going to tap the sides of my sifter so I can make sure no ingredients are stuck to its stand. If your sifter doesn't have a stand, you don't need to do this step. Now I'm going to add my chocolate chips into my melted butter on low on the stove. I'm going to whisk this until the chocolate chips are completely melted. After it's fully melted, I'm going to turn off my burner. Then I'm going to add in the granulated sugar and brown sugar. I'm going to whisk this until they're mixed in. Then I'm going to take my mixture off of the stove. Next, I'm going to add in the eggs. Before I do that, I'm going to quickly scramble them with a fork. This will help them mix better with the rest of my ingredients. As you can see, my batter is starting to separate. Just give it a quick stir back together and it'll be just fine. However, when you add the eggs in, make sure you are whisking the mixture the whole time so your eggs don't cook. It can be helpful to have another person slowly pour the eggs in for you while you whisk the batter to make sure this doesn't happen. Once the eggs are completely mixed in, I'm going to add in the vanilla extract. I'm going to mix this for 2 more minutes. This will give your brownie the crackly top. This happens because you are incorporating air into the batter. I'm going to add in my sifted dry ingredients from before. I'm going to fold them in using my rubber spatula. Folding ingredients means that you carefully mix your ingredients by using a spatula to bring your ingredients from the bottom of your bowl and putting them on top of the ingredient you're trying to fold in. Do this until no dry ingredients are visible in the batter. Next, I'm going to add in my Biscoff crumbles. I'm going to fold them in as well. This batter should be thick. My batter looks great, so let's move on to the next step. Now I'm going to pour about half of the batter into my baking pan lined with parchment paper. I'm guiding it into my pan using my rubber spatula. I put binder clips on top of the parchment paper to hold it in place. Just make sure to take them off before you put your brownie into the oven. I'm going to smooth it out using my rubber spatula. Next, I'm going to take a third cup of cookie butter and drop spoonfuls of it onto the top of the brownie batter. My cookie butter was a little thick, so I microwaved it in 10-second intervals until it was soft enough to spread. Mine took a total of 20 seconds. Then I'm going to use a butter knife to create cookie butter swirls in the batter. You can make it look however you would like. Mine had a pretty design, but that was by accident. I'm just trying to make sure there's a little bit in every bite. You can't do this wrong unless you mix it too much and it fully combines with the chocolate part. Now I'm going to pour the rest of the batter on top. I'm guiding it out with my rubber spatula like before and also using it to scrape out the remaining batter. Then I'm going to smooth it out with a small offset cake spatula very gently. Don't apply too much pressure to keep the cookie butter from mixing in. This will make sure the top is even and smooth. Now I'm going to dollop the rest of the cookie butter on top and use my knife to swirl it around just like before. After it's swirled in, I'm going to place my cookie pieces on top and push them in a little. Try to place them evenly across the top. If you want to cut the brownies into perfect sized squares, make sure you place your cookies evenly so when you cut the brownie you won't need to cut through a cookie. The cookies are crunchy, so they're very hard to cut through without squishing the brownie. I placed my cookies in all different places, so I will cut my brownies in all different shapes and sizes around the cookie pieces. Now I'm going to put the brownie into the oven. My oven's preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. My brownie took 40 minutes to bake. When it's done, a toothpick in the center should pull out with moist crumbs and the toothpick on the edges should be dry, but the cookie pieces should not be dark brown and burnt. Place it onto a cooling rack so it can cool for about 30 to 40 minutes before cutting. You can eat them right away, but if you're serving them, they won't keep their shape. And my cookie butter brownies are done and looking delicious. Please let me know what you thought of the video in the comments and how the recipe went for you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you can see when new videos are added. Thank you and enjoy!